So Penta, do you get in like, you know, bad blood with Zubin or something? Why'd you retire?
Oh, because I just won too many.
They do that in the real game, or
No. Well,
maybe
they
at some
used
point
to.
they used to.
Used to. But at this point, it's mostly just like clearly it would be more fun to have three new people or give other people a chance to go on. I can see Kolokee looking for his opponent here, so that's good.
It's not just that Penta has a big edge on lore and flavor, because if you wanted to, you could. Just that's Penta's passion, really.
Yeah, no, some of the stuff that I memorized from the game is like when
And
we got to
I
the
don't think
equipment one, I was like, oh, geez, I know pretty much every equipment in the game. Oh, fan, that's weird.
we do auditions for Hexperty. All right,
No,
loading
I
into
don't
the
think
game
they
now.
do.
Yeah, maybe we should. Game's up. And here's a little bit of a different take. Kolokee slaving up Farney. 3-1 with Farney versus
Versus a Dimid deck. Nepomuc. Have we seen Nepomuc already today?
I don't believe
Is
so.
that the
But
other Dimid player we saw?
this
I might
deck's,
just be seeing it and being like, oh, I remember that name from earlier.
I'm watching the cards that Kolokee is drawing, and this is already making me happy.
That mulligan, though, right off the bat. A little interesting to see alternate art Kasky. It's just a card I see so rarely as far as, like, even the alternate arts go. So it's actually, like, kind of special in its own way.
Swag it if you got it. But I mean, in this combination of shards, he's actually Farney in Sapphire Ruby. Again, that's like our fourth Sapphire Ruby archetype. And Farney, his charge power for 5 charges, he can he can deal damage to target troop equal to the highest cost among artifacts.
Angel of Dawn!
Angel of Dawn! Oh.
Yeah, if you
Turn
want
to
some
Angel
hype
of
for
Dawn
something.
Dream.
Yeah, as we were talking about quite a bit earlier on in the tournament, rip headphone users. The reason Blood Diamond's always laying down that diamond early is just in case the top of your deck is actually an Angel of Dawn. Now, we see that Kolokee has ways of dealing with the Angel of Dawn. That's not the issue here. The issue is the amount of damage and health swing that one card can do on the board right now. And Sapphire typically does have ways of dealing with Angels of Dawn. Like, Buccaneers and Time Ripples are actually really solid answers to Angel of Dawn.
Almost some of the best, besides
Yeah.
straight up murder.
But we don't see any right here in Kolokee's hand. So he's either got to wait till 5 resources to be able to Chaos Key, or find a different answer.
Yeah, that's on the play as your turn 2 draw with a diamond. That's like the most optimal Angel of Dawn you can really get.
It's a little weird because when we're doing practice matches in our testing group, we have a tick box for our results that are basically like, oh, there was a turn 2 or 3 Angel, because it's just so game changing. Even if you do have an answer to it, even if you do have a Time Ripple or a Buccaneer, right?
That's used on an Angel and not on a lesser threat. And
yeah, you're using it on something that's like, it was basically free to the board. And we see the Heat Wave come out here a little early. That will take out the Living Totem. I mean, he's doing that now because he's got to, Kolokee is, because he's got to stop the Living Totem from getting that +1/+1 from having the 3 extra resources. But he would have much preferred to have that a turn later from now, so he could Heat Wave and use his charge power. So, Eternal Drifter is a super good card, except it's got a couple of negative drawbacks here, mainly being that one of the charge powers that can hit out of 25 is unusable for Kolokee at the moment.
I mean, one of the robots that Reese can create is completely unplayable unless you have something like a Soul Armaments in play. So
That's true. That's true.
that's usually acceptable bounds. But regardless, Eternal Drifter is 6 cost, 6 attack, 6 defense, and is a giant costed artifact for Kolokee's charge power.
And it's immune to murder, which is also really important here. So we'll see Eternal Drifter hit one, no, not this turn. We'll see a Chaos Key get rid of that Angel of Dawn almost certainly.
Yeah, Eternal Drifter has to and actually he's now deciding whether to hit that Soul Marble, which, if that Soul Marble stays in play, can potentially be can receive counters this turn and possibly next turn with the draw of a resource and make that Angel almost fatal. I think here he's opting to, I can take one more turn of Angel of Dawn. He's at 8, he'll take 4 more, and he knows he can either Drifter it or use that second Chaos Key. He will be fighting from behind here.
You're fairly heavily from behind. This is like being at 4 is scary, especially when your opponent is playing blood and Life Siphon's always an option. Nepomuc's stuck on 3.
Exactly, and I think that's the reason for that play, is that
yeah.
a lot of Blood Diamond's cards are more than 3 cost. Soul Marble is a way to use up those resources and still make progress toward a later board. Here, Eternal Drifter is now on the board. He's used his charge power. He's at 4. We don't see what his received charge power is. Eternal Drifter enters play with charges equal to the number of charges you've gained this turn. Basically mirrors the charges that your champion gets, and gets a random charge power. So it may be useful, but it may just be a 6/6 and be fine. A 4th resource comes in for his opponent, but nothing.
Nothing played. No Vampire King. No scary nonsense. We see Bottle Vitae used to draw a card and gain a charge. Eternal Drifter here.
And importantly here, 1 health.
And 1 health. Eternal Drifter here has the option of swinging, but will not because he would be playing into repel resources here.
Do you have an idea what the charge power is?
It's Bertram.
Okay.
Bertram.
Oh.
Talisman of Vitae, an incredibly strong pickup here. This will mean every charge power used, even those by the Eternal Drifter, will gain Kolokee health equal to the amount of charges spent. In addition, he will gain 3 charges by paying 5 there.
Oh, here's the thing. He's playing around repel, but at some point he has to get at the health. So what is in the deck that'll allow him to do that? Maybe after all the charges are spent from Eternal Drifter? I mean, there's an answer right there.
Solitary Exile does come down. Well, no, but Solitary Exile is only an answer to some extent, right? That's actually really bad for Nepomuc here, because now Chaos Key on the Solitary Exile brings back the Eternal Drifter, who regains all of the bonus charges that Kolokee has been earning.
Yeah,
it doubles up
extra charges and a second power. So perhaps forgetting that Chaos Key is that kind of answer, it looks like Bertram and Life Drain.
Bertram and Dimit. Yep,
He's
Bertram and Dimit. Those are actually not what Kolokee really wants out of Eternal Drifter here. But, like he is showing us off here, it is important to note he can use both of those charge powers in the same turn.
Yep. Each power once a turn.
Yep.
Today we learned.
And he can use those charges quite a bit, actually. Another Solitary Exile would be a fine play here, though. Nepomuc not hurting. Still 6 cards in hand. Still at 6 resources. Plenty of charges. Just needs a way to put something onto the board and present a threat. And as long as Eternal Drifter can't swing in, he's not really in any threat of his own. So here we see the Angel of Dawn from hand which leaves him with 1 resource open and means almost certainly that the Eternal Drifter is coming in this turn.
I mean, yep. Angel of Dawn draws out Farney's charge power.
Yep, which is another 5 health.
Giving himself life drain all of a sudden. Farney channeling a little bit of Dimid here. Also gaining 3 charges because why not?
Yeah, I might as well do that at this point with the resources anyway. We have to imagine that, like, just by what we've seen, this can't be a one of Eternal Drifter, so any other Eternal Drifter is also strong here. Like I said, only 1 charge power not usable. There's a couple that aren't great on their own, but now that he's got Worker Bus to deal with, there's certainly more and more options available.
Now that is a drawn off the top Angel of Dawn.
That actually could be what Nep needs here. He needs to put multiple threats onto the board and he passes his turn. So we have to wonder what those 5 cards in hand are.
4 repels.
Could be 4 repels. If it was an inner conflict, you'd almost imagine he'd have used it by now.
But inner conflicting the Eternal Drifter, like, just stops it from attacking.
Yeah, it still gets to use its stretch powers, but I mean, that stops a 6/6, right? Like, what other troop in the game gets in front? Like, you might see Druze in Nepomac's deck, but that has to attack.
I definitely think he's representing Repel. I would think he is, and given this kind of play, this is game 1, so they're both on their main deck. And we've seen players in Diamond put some of these quick actions, like Meek, in their deck to stop aggro. This isn't an aggro deck, but certainly Repel still stops large attacking troops.
Also kind of worth noting, I mean, it's not fantastically important by any stretch of the imagination, but Kolokee is sitting at 25 health after taking a 5th Angel of the Dawn swing here. He has been brutalized by Angel of Dawn, but is now not in a position to really worry. Getting that Crackling Vortex off the top brings him back to 5 charges. He can now kill either the Vampire King or the Angel of Dawn, and is choosing between those right now.
I'm trying to see the potential win condition here, and you see a little bit building up in that hand. That's a possibility. But if as long as Kolokee fears a repel, he can't really attack. There must be something else in the deck that he could use to at least try to bait that out. Something equally as important, but not like key right now. Because with 12 charges still on Eternal Drifter, he has a lot of usefulness still left on it.
Oh, this is an interesting choice. 2 for 1ing himself off the Vampire King.
I think
using 2 actions from hand to get rid of it.
I think he wants to keep that the Chaos Key open for something potentially not a troop.
Yeah, I mean, he's got to keep it open for another Soul Marble, or actually I can't really think of anything else at this point. But very heavily playing around Repel here makes me wonder if he's got another win con here. I wonder if with Talisman of Vitae he's got Doppelgadgets. That's the real question for me, because Doppelgadget Talisman of Vitae would seal this game in a heartbeat.
A funny move, letting the Vampire King stay in play. He knows he's safe. He's not going to have a troop in his hand. And he's got enough health that it looks like going for the long game, gaining 3 health in the long run doesn't matter to his deck.
That is weird.
It revealed more than...
No, it pulled up his graveyard?
It did.
I guess.
Yeah. It should reveal a random card in hand. Oh.
And I'm guessing it probably did for Nepomuc, but it opened Kolokee's
graveyard.
Now, do you play? He's probably got to play this drifter here, but likely he's going to swing and create the.
First, he's going to gain 5 health.
Yeah. Well, and he's probably going to swing and see what happens. Extinction is such a big play here for Nepomuc, but it really only gets rid of 1 troop at this point.
The worker bots are just there. And it looks like confirming that repel was a thing and was correct. But why do that now and not earlier? Because an Eternal Drifter to replace it. What's its power? It's got a lot of text, and I think it just got an Abomination. And will you look at that? He's got some ready troops willing to sacrifice to make an Abomination.
He sure does. Now, of note...
and draws out a murder to kill the Abomination.
Yeah. Of note, that charge power is bugged right now.
Oh, yes, because it creates a ready Abomination.
Yeah. So, I believe there's a warning about that in text, obviously. Kolokee should not be able to block with that the turn it's created. That doesn't seem to be relevant against on this particular board state. But Kolokee is a smart enough player to know that that's the case. But those work like I said, that particular charge power, generally speaking, useless.
But in this
turns out to be really good in this case.
situation,
not seeing many troops here aside from the Eternal Guardian or the Eternal Drifter, which is a pretty good sign that the Eternal Drifter might be the only win condition here.
I wonder if he's going to force that 4th shard. He's thinking about it. The 5th charge. He's at 4 charges right now. I think he will do it. His opponent knows he's holding a Crackling Bolt. Crackling Bolt is not a 4 damage Ruby action, so unable to take out Angels and Vampire Kings. Looks like drawing out...
Ruby Lance is the only thing that can really do that there. Draws out the 2nd murder. This explains why Nepomuc's had very little to do with all these cards in his hand. He's holding on to non-artifact removal.
So unfortunately, we're out of worker bots for Abomination, so now that power isn't as useful. He's reserving that Chaos Key, choosing not to use it on the Vampire King yet.
I mean, he's got to save that for very particular board-winning conditions here.
Does he do it? Does he do it?
Because the Eternal Drifter can target itself with that ability. There's no way he opens himself up to that.
If he needs to gain 5 health. No, he can stall out here. He's not... Well, by letting Vampire King hit him over and over again, he's not concerned about that. He's got a big pool of health.
Actually, both players sitting comfortably well over the starting health total at this point. Makes you wish one of them had a set 3 constant that would turn their champion into a brand new champion. So we see Living Totem, but I mean, we know that's one of the things that Chaos Key is likely being saved for, right? And we see another Drifter. That could be interesting.
He can play everything in his hand. So he may... I think he's thinking about it. All right.
Again, we've seen nothing but Eternal Drifters. If those are the win conditions for Kolokee's deck, he has to be very, very careful not to lose all 4 of them to repels. Well, we don't see a repel there.
If he chose the Crackling Bolt, the Living Totem, his opponent has the ability to pump twice. And it looks like he fears the Totem much more than he fears the Vampire King.
Well, yeah, the Totem can just get way out of hand. It's just a good resource dump at this point in the game.
So you will finally use that Chaos Key on the Vampire King and likely going, his opponent's got 2 cards in hand. The chances that he's saving some huge bomb are kind of low, maybe even tempting Extinction. Pact of Pain being played, which will allow the drawing of cards.
Yeah, and with plenty of health, there's lots to draw on here.
Why not bolt the Vamp and then Heatwave? Because then Living Totem pumps itself for 2, and that uses up an additional card. But good question from Karik in chat. And now he has a Soul Marble. Now that it's safe to go. Still no Repel drawn. Now,
Nepomuc at 11 now. That's getting to the dicey close bend. Do you figure Kolokee's got Burned to the Grounds or some sort of finisher in there?
That's another finisher that I think I could imagine in this. It seems to be Stall, Farney, Eternal Drifter. Like, a lot of these can win on their own given the right situation. But given that he is almost certainly playing for the long game, lots of charge gain, health gain, Burn to the Ground, I can't imagine it's not in this deck. Fits right in.
Like, we have to imagine from what we've seen that he's got 1 more copy of Drifter, 2 more copies of Heatwave, probably 3 more copies of Talisman of Vitae. Like, there's a lot of not killing your opponent to draw into here. We see the Angel of Dawn getting in front of the Drifter there. Interesting choice, considering he could spend 2 turns completing the Soul Marble, and then the Drifter would have a tough time of it. Although he can still do that and get the Cavalry out here, and then the Cavalry can have the Dimmed charge power next turn. Things actually turning around. Like, I can't really see a way for the Eternal Drifters to get out of this short of getting Daughter of Stars power.
So Dimmed's power finally getting a use, going on the Soul Cavalry, that remaining worker bot, saving his Master's Master 6 damage.
That's true. I see another Talisman of Viltalio. So we're going to see if the Eternal Drifter will trade with the Soul Cavalry here. A lot of other charge powers will probably be in Kolokee's interest here. I also wonder if he's running a Singleton Diamond in the deck somewhere.
What would the Singleton Diamond be for?
Allowing him to play Scriveners. Not Scriveners. Adamanthian Elites. Or whatever the Lady Elizabeth creates.
I think this is
what does this Drifter get? This is the make or break moment. What does this Eternal Drifter get?
This Drifter is ruthless.
And it gets Benoshi charge power. And so he's got Benoshi and Bunjitsu, both of which don't do what he needs them to do in this situation. He can gain a bunch of health. He can gain health for days. So does Bounce exist?
It looks like the Benoshi Drifter is not desired.
Oh.
Did you just realize something?
I think I know. Well, because I've had a deck very similar to what Kolokee's running here, and like I'm pretty sure his only win conditions here at this point are the Drifters, and I was wondering how he was justifying that with kind of the loose style of control, and I think Oh, I don't want to go into it because it's like there's a lot going on here that could just be secret tech. I'm almost positive I spoiled something earlier by saying he's got doppel gadgets. I would be ruthlessly sure that he's got doppel gadgets in the deck. But I think he's actually in an okay spot here as long as his health remains so high. He's got to deal with this Pact of Pain. His opponent is just drawing too many cards at this point.
I mean, this is not a deck certainly that you see in a usual situation. So he does draw out an extinction for a single troop.
Now, that's 3 drifters down or 4? That's 3 drifters down. So with 31 cards in his deck, can Kolokee find either another drifter or some way to sift through his cards?
Well, there's a way to sift through.
Sifting through his cards here, so that's super important. Solitary Exile is a huge card. And if that doesn't get exiled, which I doubt it will, things might be far, far, far better looking for Kolokee. And we see him choosing to discard the Heatwave here. And the reason I think he's choosing to discard the Heatwave is that he needs the charges and was going to discard the Heatwave. Because likely he's going to use Secret Laboratory next turn anyway.
It's past the time in this game where this Heatwave is going to be useful. Like, Totem just pumps itself. Everything else is for it. Even if you saved it in combination with another card, it's not super useful. Tianost.
So, what I'm looking at here is a ton of burn, a ton of charge gain, and almost no reason to have Sapphire. But he's got enough Sapphire to reach double Sapphire threshold.
That's painful now, because now...
Well, he's still sifting through shards. As long... Oh, Tianost.
Yeah, Tianost.
Yeah.
Because if Tianost damages an opposing champion, they get to choose an opposing card and void that and all copies of that card in opposing zones. So he can take his choice, deal 5 damage, either kill both talismans, which have been gaining him an amazing amount of health, or that laboratory. And I think he's going to choose the laboratory. Indeed.
And it's important to note that he is voiding these cards and all copies of those cards. Although that does filter down Kolokee's deck, I can think of an out here. There's definitely an out. It's just a matter of pulling. Drifter might be good enough.
Depends.
Now,
what did you get? Did he just get Daughter of Stars?
He did. That's huge for him here. That's a couple of turns of safety. Oh, and some health. Now, I don't want to be wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure Tianost is from all zones.
Yes.
So he absolutely cannot let Tianost connect here.
It doesn't matter. Another extinction and Tianost is back. They have so many resources.
That's actually probably better for him.
Yep.
That's actually probably better for him, because if he loses those drifters, he cannot win this game. What he has to do... Well, I mean, he might as well play that and use the charges now, because that's the next target for Tianost.
If only Talisman's costed 5.
Well, and the problem here is that's all 4 drifters in the graveyard. That is all 4 drifters in the graveyard. All 4 Talisman of Vitae are going to be lost in the void here. Nepomuc on 8, but not playing Sapphire, which is the key component here. I could be totally wrong, but we still haven't seen a Sapphire card here. I'm gonna call it out. Robotic Rapture is the saving grace for Nepomuc at this point. Or not for Nepomuc, for Kolokee. If he draws a Robotic Rapture, all 4 of those drifters come back, and specifically, he'll be able to play one and use his charge power, and use the charge power off of the drifters. He'll get 4 Chaos Keys back.
He's got many turns to do this. He's bought a ton of time. He's at 62 health.
That being said, I can't think of another 5-cost artifact that is going to allow him to destroy the Tianost here that he... I don't know.
If you're just joining us, you're watching a crazy FiveShards.com Ruby Cup sponsored by TechnoFee. game. We are in round 5. This is game 1, isn't it? This is game 1 of this match.
I don't think he actually. Yeah, he doesn't actually get 4 Chaos Keys back. Now that I'm thinking about it, Chaos Key and Mastery of Time are the 2 set 1 cards that void themselves to be used. So he doesn't get the Chaos Keys back, but he does get the Drifters back. Gets brand new powers on them, and gets to use his charge power again. Sadly, does not get his I can't even think of what I was gonna say.
That card is not quite useful yet. Doppelganger.
Yeah. Actually, I think that's lost its usefulness too. He's lost all of his laboratories, and he's lost all of his Chaos Keys, and all of his, what are they called? The Talisman of Vites, which is what I was losing earlier in my wording. So Doppelgadget only really strong if he draws another bottled Vitae.
He's used 2, I believe. He's not seeing what he needs. Still has 47 health. Yes, there is a Tianost on the board and attacking every turn. What?
Both players having gone through an incredible amount of their deck. Both players with an incredible amount of things in play. Of note, I don't think there's a quick action response for Nepomuc for the Eternal Drifters right off the bat. So that is interesting. Another shard of innovation. Typical deck list is anywhere between 23 and 25 shards, and we are looking at a whole bunch now for Kolokee. He's probably running more than the standard, if we're just going by averages. Especially considering we've seen him filter through all of his labs and the 1 extra Vitae. I believe he lost 3 bonus labs.
Nepomuc's at the point where he's discarding. Meek is discarded.
Meek is useless. He knows he's never going to use Meek. There's another Ruby shard. This looks very one-sided, but like I said, I don't know how many copies of it he's running, but if he draws even a 1 of Robotic Rapture, this game can turn around in a heartbeat, because how many Tianos do you think Nepomuc's running?
1, if 2, not 2. 2 is a lot.
It's likely to be.
Doppelgadget has a use.
Yeah,
but he's not going to be played.
No, he's not going to be able to use it here because he has to pop the ball.
Hey, look!
Oh, was it there? It's the Robotic Rapture!
Robotic Rapture!
So this will pull back all the Vites, all the Drifters, and I think that's all Kolokee actually manages to get back here.
You know, it's a lot of cards.
Oh, no, and the worker bots. Well, actually, a lot of the worker bots were voided. So now he's got to find the one that has Daughter of Stars ability on it. That's actually not the one he plays first, I'm guessing. He likely plays out the Bunjutsu one first, if I had to guess. Because that's the one that's the least useful. That's the one he's most okay with dying. And he's actually going to put down the Life Drain Worker Bot one, which is also fine. He gets to use multiple charge powers if he wants to.
And also he gains a new power too.
Another Bunjutsu power. So another useless style of ability. Farney's ability gets played here, destroys Tianos. Tianos goes to the grave. Worker Bot hits the field. Now the bottled Vites are kind of dead.
You don't want to draw more cards at this point.
Yeah, I mean, both players are operating on a clock-based system. They're both under 15 minutes here and still have up to 2 games left to play in the rounds following here, in the match following. Pact of Pain's still available for Nepomuc, but he cannot allow himself to fall down in cards here. We are going to see a Solitary Exile on the Eternal Drifter, but that's just one more piece of removal out on a Drifter. That's just a slight slowdown. Now, again, there are some really good charge powers to hit here. Daughter of Stars was fantastic. There's nothing to be said bad about Gozig. Zared would not be too bad. One Eye Opens, not great, but not terrible. Rutherford Banks would be hilariously good. Feather Drifting's almost okay.
I think he just pulled a Zared power. He also pulled a...
Looks like double Zared?
There was a wild power down in here.
Polonius would be probably the most ideal, right? You'd want to be creating Mammoth Squirrel Titans here. So we
And
see the extinction, which he sort of played into, but we know that that's okay now. We know that that's okay. That's the third or fourth extinction. I think it's the third one. So here comes the Drifter again.
Daughter Drifter.
Daughter Drifter.
He can now pay 3 health to draw a card. Not sure if he wants to. He doesn't
definitely doesn't want to do that. Unless, of course, he ever gets to the point where he wants one more burn or bolt, or it really depends on what's left in the deck.
That is a 53 charge Eternal Drifter.
Yeah. Can the Drifter get the Make an Angel power? No. The Drifter cannot get PvE powers, or it would have to be super banned.
We have confirmed it can. Have we confirmed it can get the Paragon power from set 3?
I think Fentio said it could be able to, but can the Drifter get? Well, oh, I see.
Oh yeah,
you mean
that's
from
what we
set 3? Oh yeah, maybe. Yeah, in PvE, Drifter can get PvE abilities. I think there's the 4th extinction. So now Nepomuc's like, all right, I got this.
Let me just play a Soul Marble from hand and make it a cavalry.
Play a Soul Marble from hand. What's the deck that Deck Drifter playing? What's the win con? The win con is the Drifters. It's just in a fairly nasty control matchup here. Like, both players playing very heavily in their control. Both are going to have to play super fast next game. Yeah, this is something that comes up a lot. 99% of the time, what we are saying as casters is going to be relevant to the PvP matches and what matters in PvP.
So Robotic Rapture.
Yeah.
Got to get back some Drifter action and a Worker Bot.
Yeah, and a Worker Bot. Sadly, no Talisman of Vitae, because they would be huge here. Doesn't even check which Drifter he's playing.
I think he's just planning to play them all.
Oh, and he gets Farney, gets Palamedes.
Palamedes. Now he can block the
Soul Cavalry. Nah, does he play the other one? I mean, he's got no reason not to play the other one unless he fears Judgment. 93 charges!
That is so many charges.
Not a whole lot to do with it. It's got crappy charge powers. Nothing Nepomuc plays can survive. Well, no, actually, I can think of one troop, I believe, that survives that Blood Diamond would be playing. It's just a matter of having it, though he's down to 11 cards in hand.
I want to play this deck when set 3 champions are out and grab, like, the Scorch power and just be like, Scorch! Scorch! Slowly ping my opponent's deck with my extra charges while gaining 5 health each time.
Quarig, he can only use... Charge powers have a restriction where you can only use a charge power once a game from a source.
Once per turn.
Once per turn, sorry, yes. So he has 2 Farney abilities he can use a turn now and a spattering of other ones, but he can, even though he can use all of them independently, he can only ever use one instance of that charge power in a turn. Which is fairly important here. He's gonna choose not to use his Doppelgadget ability for any reason. Finds another shard. That brings him to 21. He's likely going to give +1/+1 to his Eternal Drifter. At this point, he cannot play around... he can no longer play around Repel. He's gonna have to swing in here if I had to guess. Now, the big scare, of course, is Repel. Oh, he does have Fuzzico charge power as well. I wonder why he would choose not to use that. There's Repel. That's going to slightly hinder his plan. He's got 9 cards left in hand. Yeah. Nine cards left in deck, not in hand.
No Polonius power, indeed.
No Polonius charge power. It's time for Cosmic Totem. There's the Uranaz. That's that would have been the reason maybe not to swing with the Farney charge power one. And also probably a reason not to buff up.
That's 111 charges.
111 charges, because it will get all the charges that Nepomuc's gained this turn, in addition to the 93 charges that were on it already. It will also have access to those charge powers, which can now Fuzzico charge power.
Or
Now
has its power.
It can Farney charge power if it really wants to. It won't do anything.
Orenaz basically says your best troop is my troop.
He's not getting Tetsuit or Polonius, which is super bad for him here. So one Uranaz, one Tianost, huge dragons on the board here. Does Kolokee have an answer to this board state? Does he have another robotic rapture is the real question. He's got another cracking vortex, which is kind of helpful for him here.
Does he have the Daughter of Stars power available?
I believe he does, but that... Yeah, I mean, he wants to kill Uranaz first. And then he has to be super careful because the other Eternal Drifter now will continue to get Eternal Drifter powers. He almost has to use the Bottled Vitae to gain a charge and be able to use the Farney charge power at some point, or get another Farney charge power here, which it looks like he does not. Oh, but he's got the Zared charge power. That's important here.
He will gain a charge here.
Oh, and he's going to draw a card. He's already used his main Farney charge power again.
This game is kind of ridiculous. Something about using Palamedi's charge power on yourself is kind of interesting. Because, of course, champions can't usually use it on themselves, so watching that happen is kind of neat. This is game one. We are almost 50 minutes into this round. Meek used on a worker bot.
Might as well. Interestingly enough about this match, neither of these players have ever gone to time at the end of a match as far as I've seen. So this must be the first time Kolokee's run into control. We see Eternal Drifter destroying the other Eternal Drifter. It must have gotten the Farney charge power there. Or it already had it, that's correct.
Anything short of 4 repel, 4 extinction would already have been run over. And needing to enter soul marbles, having your key cards voided by Tianos, and even the Uranaz.
If Kolokee has any Oracle songs or Zodiac divinations, he can kill off he can bury out Nepomuc here. So we see the charge power heat wave combo go down. That will get rid of that Eternal Drifter. Now, he's going to... The slow, desperate struggle for the bigger troop.
And a Vampire King. What does this Eternal Drifter... I've lost track of what powers each one has.
This one has Running Deer and a couple of other things. It looks like Kolokee's just saying good game. Probably doesn't have a way to defeat. Yeah. Yeah, the deck is generally built around Doppelgadget Talisman to gain a bunch of health, from what I can imagine. Yeah. But the Drifters have to be there to win.
It's an interesting deck, and certainly always a risk playing it here. Probably has a much better matchup against not heavy control decks.
Now, they have less than 10 minutes left in the round.
The chance of one player winning this in 10 minutes is not very high. I assume you're going.
Actually, probably an argument for Kolokee to play that match out as best he could to try to survive 10 minutes. like, because it's very unlikely either of them are going to be able to pull in a victory.
To survive in 10 minutes till time is called, and then win, and then survive 5 turns after that and get a draw, better than a loss, right?
Yeah.
Of course, that didn't happen, and so now Kolokee has around 9 minutes to win a match to get it to 1-1. Otherwise, he will take the loss here. I suppose there is the 5-minute delay, so it's really 9 plus 5, which is doable. You could do that. But yeah, no, that first 45-minute game, I hope you enjoyed that, everybody out there in chat. That is certainly, that's one of the reasons why it's really fun to watch what comes out for Constructed. We don't always feature, sometimes we feature the standard, the tried and true, but sometimes we get Eternal Drifters and Robotic Raptures.
These are certainly the kind of matches you want to see more of. Like, this is not your typical set 2 meta match that everyone's expecting.
Right, we'll be into this game shortly. The challenge has been sent.
Yeah, but it looks like... Yeah, it looks like Kolokee didn't save his deck by the very first time. Yeah, or it didn't save properly. You might have to restart.
Joe Silly makes a funny comment. Eternal Drifter price went up just from that match. Isn't it interesting how that works? All it takes is a card to do well or be featured in a neat idea, and all of a sudden people want this card. They go to the auction house, they buy copies of that card. And
well, Eternal Drifter is certainly a fine card on its own. Like, if it was just 1 point, like one thing in this deck on its way towards victory, that wouldn't surprise anyone. Because it's just a good card. It's a 6/6 for 6 with a huge upside.
And let me tell you, that Eternal Drifter is very fun in PvE. When you can pay 3 to give it a new power, when you get, I think you draw it and gain charges and all sorts of fun things you can do with that. That's one of my more fun arena decks. The meta doesn't really reset with a new set. It starts out where it is right now. So certainly we already know that Eternal Drifter will gain powers. Like it'll have access to set 3 champions powers, and some of those are really interesting uses of charges. Like I mentioned the Scorch power. What if you started putting eggs into your opponent's deck when he had 10 cards left, like in that game? Of course, with that comes some powers, more powers you probably don't want. A charge for every troop you have. Not as useful.
Reverting your own Eternal Drifters.
Yeah, I can't imagine that being something you want very often. But that's the nature with a card like Eternal Drifter.
Eternal Drifter, generally speaking, just gets better in set 3, yes. That's objective.
Will it find a place? Will the meta settle the meta game in Constructed settle to a point where a deck like this can and will do lots of neat stuff? We'll see. Anyways, match is starting. I'm going to step away for a minute and I'll be back. Go ahead and start this match.
All right, so with 5 minutes on the clock, can either player get there? We see Kolokee is probably not keeping this opening hand. These guys are on a 5-minute delay, so they're starting this match with 10 minutes to go in their head. Another non-keepable opening hand. This is something better. Spider's Hat were never, ever, ever intended to cancel your draw. The idea that they could was absolutely not a thing. It was a bug on the test server and should never have been considered a possible change to how spider eggs work. So we see that bottled Vitae going down, drawing an extra card, gaining those charges Kolokee needs. That early Soul Marble hits the board. Correct. Spider eggs do not cancel draws.
You draw a card or bury another card to replace that.
Yep, and they were never intended to work any other way. But they were bugged for one set of test server things, and people got the wrong idea, which is a silly idea if we're being quite honest.
Which is what happened. You almost need to forget a lot of what may have occurred
on the test server.
It never happened. So remember, we are on a 5-minute delay, so they have roughly 8 minutes to complete this.
Correct.
And given the controlling nature of Kolokee's hand, it's not doing damage anytime fast.
It's interesting that Nepomuc tried to play a second Soul Marble there, first of all. It's also interesting that Kolokee verdicted it. I mean, he had to, I'm sure.
Yeah, because the moment that becomes a Soul Cavalry, it's kind of over, I think. There's not many ways to handle that, so that Chaos Key was necessary. I mean, it worked out. That's an Angel of Dawn played from hand. I mean, once you get to turn 5, Angel of Dawn is Angel of Dawn. 4/4, Steadfast, Flight is good. But 4 is just enough to get blasted by Farney's power. I mean, that's Farney's strength. Farney can just simply, with a high enough cost artifact in play, just go, nope, this thing's dead. It doesn't have 7 defense.
Deal with that.
Yep.
Now, we know that Kolokee's only got 4 troops in his deck. From what we've seen his whole thing. Unless he reserves into more troops, which is possible.
But he also has a significant amount of direct damage. So the object here is to not allow a troop to be played, gain a bunch of health. Well, he has to win the game, so he needs those. He's not getting them, but he needs those.
So we see more shards. Kolokee building up those charges, so if he ever does find a Eternal Drifter, he's in a good spot.
That is a Tianost. And that is an interrupted Tianost. Did work last game. Probably one of the contributing factors of
this counter magic's existence.
of Kolokee's loss last game. I mean, Oranaz definitely helped too. Probably a one of each, because we didn't see them each a second time. Bottled Vitae. Drawing a card, gaining a health. The health gain not mattering as much, but the card draw and the charge, certainly fine. I mean, Talisman of Vitae is in a nice spot.
Time is up. Attention all
So we
players.
receive
Time
the
is up.
3rd Soul Marble.
That is time in the round. So for any player still in their matches,
5 minutes, 5 turns remaining. You play 1 turn, or whoever's turn it is now, you'll end your turn. Then your opponent or you will start your next turn. That is the first turn. When they end their turn, it becomes the next player's turn, and then that's the second turn. You don't take 5 turns each. I'm going to clarify this because there's been some confusion.
So that verdict was drawn right after a Soul Marble is played. Unfortunate timing here, because that is now going to become
probably a Soul Cavalry. Like, he understands that there's no answer for that in Kolokee's deck. Like, Soul Armaments can be Chaos Keyed away. Soul Marble becoming Soul Cavalry is almost unanswerable.
Not by these shards. Drifter's the best one, and even then, that trades without a without a +1/+1 power. And the PvP version of Eternal Drifter has no way to give itself more powers in this deck, I believe. Just no bouncing, replaying it. It basically is reliant on dying and coming back. Although, because of that, he may not mind it, but again, time is an issue. We are under 5 minutes in this match, presumably. These in-game whisper bugs are probably really annoying. I hope that.
The ideal if there was a patch to address a bunch of issues.
I know.
If only there was a patch.
If only patch hype.
So we see more of the health drain and swing shenanigans. At this point, Kolokee looking at losing out on a chance at a draw. Likely going to have to lose this game to that single Soul Cavalry. 4 cards in 42 here to draw an Eternal Drifter. I don't know why I said 4 cards. There are 4 Eternal Drifters in those 42 cards to draw. And here we see another Angel of Dawn. I mean, that can be answered. That's not the issue. The issue is the 2-turn clock. Kolokee has 1 more draw.
And does it help? No, as Verdict of the Ancient Kings doesn't really do anything.
Well, no. It does help. It does help. Yeah, because he can now Crackling Bolt Nepomuc's face, Verdict it, and then after that resolves, use Crackling Bolt and Verdict it again.
And be like, I've got no more cards.
He does get to use his charge power, and getting to use his charge power on the Angel of Dawn means he gains enough health to survive 1 more swing. So he does get 1 more draw.
That's right, the Talisman of Vitae wasn't completely done. No, the Drifters put in a lot of work last game, have to rest, are on the bottom half of the deck. Bottom 2/3 rather. Yeah. Honorable suicide right here.
Yeah, I mean, if you've got it, you take it away from your opponent. Like somebody in chat said, obviously it didn't actually matter if this game went to a draw. Kolokee needed to win that game to secure a draw in the matchup. He needed to win that game to get a draw. So that seals up that featured match, which managed to take up all of round 5, which is super good.
No, that was worth it to see an interesting deck in action. Unfortunately, not able to take down this match, but it was 3-1 going into this round, so facing opponents that it was able to surprise and take advantage of.
And we are just waiting on this last match to go.